The old warship floated dead in space, like a metal ghost. Jin Park moved his small salvage vessel closer to the massive hull. The ship was huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. Ancient writing covered its dark surface, telling stories no one could read anymore. Jin checked his equipment one more time. Other salvage crews had already picked through this wreck many times. They took all the valuable metals and working parts. But Jin was different. He looked for things others missed or were too scared to find. His scanner showed something strange deep inside the ship. The readings came from a section marked with warning signs that kept other people away. Jin smiled. Warning signs usually meant something interesting was inside. He put on his spacesuit and grabbed his tools. The airlock opened with a loud hiss. Jin floated into the dead ship, his helmet light cutting through the darkness. The ship belonged to the Catherians, an alien race that died out long ago. They were famous for being fierce warriors. Their empire fell apart hundreds of years before humans ever left Earth. Now only empty ships and broken cities remained to show they once existed. Jin moved through the twisted metal halls. His boots made no sound in the empty air. The ship felt cold and lonely, like a tomb floating in space. Most people found these dead ships creepy, but Jin felt sad for them. They were the last pieces of a lost people. He found the section his scanner had detected. Large doors blocked his way, covered with more alien writing. The symbols looked like warnings, but Jin could not read them. His computer tried to translate the words but could only make out fragments. Something about danger and bonded guardian, and authorized personnel only. Jin used his cutting tools to open the sealed doors. They moved slowly, fighting against him like they wanted to stay closed. When they finally opened, warm air rushed out. That was strange. Most of the ship had no air or power left. Inside, Jin found a huge chamber. It was bigger than his entire ship. Strange machines lined the walls, most of them broken or dead. But some still glowed with soft lights. His scanner went crazy with readings. Then he saw it. In the center of the room lay something that made Jin's heart skip. It was enormous, easily as long as his salvage ship. The creature looked like a wolf mixed with a dragon. Dark scales covered its body like armor. Multiple red eyes were closed in sleep or death. Thick metal cables connected to ports along its spine and skull. Jin moved closer, his light shining on the beast. It had 6 legs, each ending in claws that could tear through metal. Its mouth was huge, filled with teeth like broken glass. Old scars covered its body. Some wounds looked fresh, like it had been fighting recently. But the creature was thin. Too thin. Jin could see its ribs under the scaled skin. Its breathing was slow and weak. Whatever this thing was, it was dying. Jin's radio crackled with static. "Park, you there? What are you finding in that death trap?" The voice belonged to Captain Vexitar, who ran the nearest space station. Jin hesitated before answering. He knew what would happen if he told the truth. "Just some broken equipment, Captain. Nothing valuable?" "Good. Get out of there soon. That section is marked as hazardous. The radiation readings are off the charts." Jin looked at his scanner again. The radiation was not dangerous to him, just different from normal space readings, but it had kept other people away for decades. After turning off his radio, Jin studied the creature more carefully. The metal cables were feeding it something, keeping it alive, but barely. Ancient machines pumped fluids into its body. Other devices monitored its vital signs with weak, flashing lights. This was not just some animal. The setup looked like a medical bay, or maybe a prison. Someone had put this creature here on purpose and left it to waste away alone. Jin found alien writing on a nearby wall panel. His computer translated a few words. Warhound Unit 7, Bonded Partner, Commander Thektar. Status, Partner deceased, awaiting new assignment. The creature stirred when Jin's light moved across its face. One massive red eye opened and looked directly at him. Jin froze, expecting the beast to attack. Instead, the eye just watched him with what looked like curiosity. Jin had always been good with animals back on Earth. His grandmother taught him that all creatures, no matter how scary they looked, just wanted to be understood. She said you could see into an animal's heart by looking into its eyes. Looking into this alien creature's eye, Jin saw something that shocked him. He saw loneliness. He saw pain. But most of all, he saw intelligence. This was not just a mindless beast. This was someone trapped and forgotten. Jin made a decision that would change his life forever. He reached into his pack and pulled out an emergency food bar. The creature watched as Jin slowly unwrapped it and placed it near its massive head. "Hey there, big guy," Jin whispered. "You look hungry?" The creature sniffed the food carefully. Then, with surprising gentleness for something so huge, it took the small bar into its mouth. Its eyes closed as it chewed, and Jin could swear he saw relief on its alien face. Jin spent the next hour checking the ancient machines keeping the creature alive. Most were failing. Without help, this being would die soon. Jin looked at the massive creature one more time and made another choice he knew others would call crazy. He was going to save it. Getting the creature onto his ship nearly killed Jin. The beast was massive and weak, barely able to move on its own. Jin had to use every tool he owned to build a transport platform. It took 3 trips and all his strength to move the alien warhound to his cargo bay. Other salvagers watched from their ships as Jin loaded something huge into his vessel. When Captain Vextar called to ask what he found, Jin lied again. "Just some heavy scrap metal, Captain. Worth a good price at the next station." But lying got harder when Jin arrived at Frontier Station Beta. The docking crew ran their usual scans and immediately detected life signs from his cargo bay. Within minutes, security teams surrounded his ship. "Jin Park, you are ordered to open your cargo bay for inspection," Captain Vextar's voice boomed through the station speakers. Jin had no choice. He opened the bay doors and watched as armed guards pointed their weapons at his new companion. The creature lay on the floor where Jin had made a bed of salvaged blankets. It was too weak to stand, but its multiple red eyes tracked every movement around it. The reaction was instant panic. "By the sacred moons," one Altarian guard whispered, "that's a Catherian warhound." "Impossible," another said. "They've been extinct for centuries." Captain Vextar pushed through the crowd, his blue skin pale with shock. "Park, do you have any idea what you've brought to my station? That thing is a walking weapon of mass destruction." Jin stepped protectively in front of the creature. "His name is Grimjaw, and he's hurt. He needs medical attention." "Grimjaw?" The captain's voice rose in disbelief. "You named it? Are you completely insane? Those beasts were bred to destroy entire armies. They can tear apart starships with their bare claws." "Look at him," Jin said firmly. "Does he look like he wants to destroy anything? He can barely lift his head." The guards kept their weapons trained on Grimjaw, but Jin noticed something. The creature made no aggressive moves. It just watched everyone with tired, intelligent eyes. When a young docking worker accidentally dropped a tool with a loud clang, several guards jumped. Grimjaw just blinked slowly. Dr. Yenna pushed her way through the crowd. The Zalari scientist had long silver tentacles for hair and the largest brain case Jin had ever seen on any alien. She moved carefully toward Grimjaw, her scanner beeping constantly. "Fascinating," she whispered. "The bio readings are unlike anything in our databases." "Stay back, Doctor," Captain Vextar warned. "That creature could snap you in half." Dr. Yenna ignored him and knelt next to Grimjaw's massive head. The warhound's eyes focused on her, but he remained perfectly still. She ran her scanner over his body, taking detailed readings. "Captain!" "These cybernetic implants are failing," she reported. "This creature is in severe pain. The biomechanical systems keeping him alive are breaking down." "Good," the captain replied coldly. "When they fail completely, the problem will solve itself." Jin felt anger rise in his chest. "You can't just let him die. He's done nothing wrong." "Nothing wrong?" Captain Vextar laughed harshly. "My grandfather fought in the border wars. He told stories about what these creatures could do. They could track a target across star systems. They could survive in space without suits. They could think and plan like the smartest generals. And they never, ever gave up once they marked someone for death." Dr. Yenna stood up, her tentacle hair swaying with agitation. "That was during wartime, Captain. This creature has been alone on that derelict ship for who knows how long. Look at his condition. He's starving, and his implants are causing neural feedback loops. He's probably in constant agony." "All the more reason to end his suffering quickly," the captain said. Jin moved between the guards and Grimjaw. "No, I won't let you hurt him." "You won't let us?" The captain's voice turned dangerous. "Mr. Park, I'm ordering you to surrender that creature to station security. It will be destroyed humanely for the safety of everyone aboard this station." "And I'm refusing," Jin said quietly. The standoff lasted for long minutes. Guards shifted nervously, keeping their weapons ready but not firing. Captain Vextar's face grew darker. Dr. Yenna continued scanning Grimjaw, muttering to herself in her native language. Then something unexpected happened. Grimjaw made a sound. It was not a roar or a growl. It was a soft, low whimper of pain. The massive war beast that supposedly could destroy armies was crying quietly, like a lost puppy. The sound cut through all the fear and anger in the room. Even the guards lowered their weapons slightly. Jin knelt next to Grimjaw and gently placed his hand on the creature's scarred snout. "It's okay, boy. I won't let them hurt you." Grimjaw's breathing slowed and the whimpering stopped. His eyes closed peacefully for the first time since Jin found him. "Doctors," Yenna looked up from her scanner with wide eyes. "Captain, I'm detecting massive changes in his neural patterns. His stress levels just dropped by 60%. "What does that mean?" Jin asked. "It means," Dr. Yenna said slowly, "that he trusts you. Completely." Captain Vextar stared at the peaceful creature for a long moment. Finally, he sighed heavily. "Dr. Yenna, you will monitor this situation closely. Mr. Park, you have 48 hours to prove this creature is not a threat. After that, I'm calling the Galactic Council." As the crowd dispersed, Jin stayed with Grimjaw in the cargo bay. He brought food, water, and medical supplies. The creature ate carefully from Jin's hands, never snapping or biting despite his massive teeth. "You're not a monster, are you?" Jin whispered. "You're just lonely." Grimjaw's tail thumped once against the floor, the first sign of happiness Jin had seen from him. It was going to be a long 48 hours, but Jin was determined to prove that sometimes the scariest things just need someone to care about them. Dr. Yenna arrived early the next morning with a cart full of medical equipment. Jin had spent the night sleeping next to Grimjaw in the cargo bay. The massive creature had curled up protectively around Jin, using his body heat to keep the human warm. "Remarkable," Dr. Yenna whispered as she set up her machines. "He's treating you like pack family." Jin stretched his sore muscles and checked on Grimjaw's condition. The creature was breathing easier than yesterday, but the cybernetic implants along his spine still sparked and flickered with electrical problems. "Can you fix them?" Jin asked. Dr. Yenna examined the ancient technology carefully. "These implants are beyond anything I've seen before. They're not just medical devices. They're memory storage units, communication arrays, and life support systems all in one." She connected her scanner to one of the working implants. Data flowed across her screen in patterns that made her tentacle hair dance with excitement. "Jin, there are petabytes of information stored in these implants. Historical records, tactical data, even personal memories from his bonded partner. Bonded partner? Cytherian warhounds didn't work alone, Dr. Yenna explained. Each one was psychically linked to a specific Cytherian warrior. They shared thoughts, emotions, even physical sensations. When one died, the other often followed shortly after. Jin looked at Grimjaw with new understanding. So he's been grieving this whole time. For over 200 years, according to these timestamps, Dr. Yenna's voice grew soft. He's been alone longer than most species live. As she worked on downloading the data, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Captain Vextar's voice echoed through the speakers. All security teams to Docking Bay 7. We have uninvited guests. Through the cargo bay's small window, Jin could see sleek black ships approaching the station. They moved with predatory grace, their weapons already charging. Syndicate vessels, Dr. Yenna said with fear in her voice. How did they find us so quickly? The answer came when armed figures stormed into the cargo bay. They wore black armor and carried weapons that hummed with dangerous energy. Their leader, a scarred Tyrellian with metal teeth, pointed his gun directly at Grimjaw. Stand away from the warhound, humans. We're here to collect our property. Property? Jin stepped in front of Grimjaw. He's not anyone's property. The Tyrellian laughed harshly. That creature contains military secrets worth more than this entire station. The Syndicate has a buyer willing to pay billions for a working Cytherian warhound. Working? Dr. Yenna clutched her scanner protectively. He's barely alive. Our scientists can fix that, the leader said. They can rebuild him stronger than before, make him obedient to our commands instead of some dead alien's ghost. Jin felt Grimjaw stirring behind him. The creature's breathing had changed from slow and peaceful to quick and alert. His multiple eyes were now wide open, tracking every armed figure in the room. You're not taking him, Jin said firmly. The Tyrellian raised his weapon. You have no choice, human. Step aside or we'll kill you both. That's when Grimjaw moved. Jin had never seen anything so fast. One moment the creature was lying weak and still. The next, he was standing at his full massive height, his body between Jin and the armed intruders. The transformation was terrifying and beautiful. Grimjaw's cybernetic implants flared to life, casting eerie blue light across his dark scales. His claws extended with metallic clicks, his lips pulled back to reveal rows of razor-sharp teeth. But most frightening of all was the sound he made. It was not quite a roar, not quite a howl. It was the battle cry of an ancient warrior race, a sound that spoke of honor and fury and unbreakable loyalty. The Syndicate troops opened fire immediately. Energy bolts filled the air, but Grimjaw was no longer where they aimed. He moved like liquid death, dodging between weapons fire with impossible grace. The first attacker didn't even have time to scream. Grimjaw's claws tore through his armor like paper. The second managed one shot before the warhound's massive jaws closed around his weapon, crushing it to scrap metal. Jin watched in amazement as his gentle companion became a force of nature. But even in his fury, Grimjaw was careful. He disabled and scattered the attackers without killing them. He could have torn them apart easily, but he showed restraint that surprised everyone. Within minutes, the cargo bay was filled with unconscious or fleeing Syndicate troops. Grimjaw stood over their fallen leader, one massive paw pinning the Tyrellian to the floor. His red eyes burned with ancient intelligence. Please, the leader gasped. We'll leave. We'll never come back. Grimjaw leaned down until his scarred snout was inches from the Tyrellian's face. When he spoke, his voice was like grinding stone, rusty from centuries of disuse. This human is under my protection now. Harm him, and I will hunt you across the galaxy. The Syndicate leader's eyes went wide with terror. Warhounds were legendary not just for their strength, but for their ability to track enemies across impossible distances. Once a warhound marked someone as a threat, that person never found peace. After the attackers fled, Grimjaw immediately returned to Jin's side. The fierce warrior dissolved back into a gentle giant, nuzzling Jin's hand with his massive head. Captain Vextar arrived with a security team, but the fight was already over. He stared at the scattered armor and weapons in disbelief. "One creature did all this?" "He was protecting me," Jin said simply. Dr. Yenna was studying her scanner readings with amazement. "The data from his implants is incredible. These aren't just war records. They're cultural archives, scientific discoveries, even poetry and music from the Cytherian civilization." "Poetry?" Captain Vextar looked confused. "Warhounds weren't just weapons, Captain. They were companions, friends, family members. They shared in every aspect of Cytherian life." She looked at Grimjaw with new respect. "He's not a monster. He's the last keeper of an entire civilization's memories." Jin scratched behind Grimjaw's ear, and the massive creature leaned into the touch like a contented pet. "And now, he's my friend." As news of the attack spread, Jin realized their problems were just beginning. The Syndicate wouldn't give up easily, and now they knew exactly what they were hunting. Jin knew they had to leave Frontier Station Beta. Word about Grimjaw was spreading fast across the galaxy, and not all of it was good. News feeds called him the human who weaponized an ancient killer and a threat to galactic peace. Dr. Yenna helped them escape during the night shift. She had copied all the data from Grimjaw's implants and wanted to study it properly. "There are things in these files that could change how we understand the old empire," she told Jin as they prepared to leave. Grimjaw seemed to understand they were running. He stayed close to Jin, his massive head constantly turning to watch for threats. When other aliens saw him, they screamed and ran. Grimjaw's ears would droop each time, and Jin could tell it hurt his feelings. They found refuge in the Outer Rim colonies where humans had built mining settlements on asteroids. The miners were tough people who cared more about results than appearances. When Grimjaw helped them move heavy equipment and scared off space pirates, they quickly accepted him. "That's a good boy you got there, Jin," said Maria Santos, the head of Asteroid Mine 7. "Ugly as sin, but he works hard and doesn't complain." Jin smiled as he watched Grimjaw carefully carry delicate mining equipment with his massive claws. The Warhound had learned to control his strength perfectly. He could move 1,000-pound machinery or gently pick up a dropped tool without damaging it. But their peace didn't last long. Captain Vextar arrived 3 weeks later with official papers from the Galactic Council. His security team looked nervous as they surrounded Jin's small quarters. Grimjaw sensed the tension and moved protectively in front of Jin. "I'm sorry, Park," the captain said, "but the Council has issued a containment order. Your creature must be turned over to xenobiological research for the safety of all citizens." Jin read the official documents with growing anger. "This is wrong. Grimjaw hasn't hurt anyone who didn't attack first." "That's not how the Council sees it," Captain Vexitar replied. 3 major species have filed complaints. They're terrified that other humans might try to weaponize ancient war beasts. "Weaponize?" Jin laughed bitterly. "Look at him, Captain. Does he look like a weapon to you?" Grimjaw was sitting peacefully next to Jin, but his eyes tracked every armed guard in the room. The Warhound could have easily overpowered all of them, but he waited for Jin's command. His loyalty was absolute. Dr. Yenna stepped forward with her tablet. "Captain, my research has revealed something important. Cytherian Warhounds weren't just soldiers. They were the guardians of Cytherian society." Guardians. They could sense lies, detect corruption, identify threats before they became dangerous. The collapse of the Cytherian Empire began when their warhounds started dying off from a plague. Without their guardians to protect them from internal betrayal, the Cytherians destroyed themselves from within. She showed images from the ancient files. Cytherian cities where warhounds lived peacefully alongside families. Hounds playing with Catherian children. Hounds serving as judges in courts. Their ability to sense truth making trials fair and honest. They weren't weapons of war, Captain. They were weapons against war. Captain Vextar looked uncertain, but duty won over doubt. I have my orders, Doctor. The creature must be contained. That's when the real attack came. Syndicate ships dropped out of hyperspace around the asteroid, dozens of them this time. They had brought an army, and they weren't taking chances. Alarms screamed across the mining facility. Maria Santos's voice echoed through the speakers. All miners to emergency shelters. We've got incoming hostiles. The first wave of attackers landed near the main mining complex. They wore heavy armor and carried military-grade weapons. Their orders were simple. Capture the Warhound alive. Kill anyone who got in their way. But they had made a critical mistake. They threatened innocent people under Grimjaw's protection. Jin watched in amazement as his companion transformed once again. But this time was different. Grimjaw wasn't just defending Jin anymore. He was protecting an entire community that had welcomed them. The Warhound moved through the mining tunnels like a force of nature. His cybernetic implants blazed with light as ancient battle programs activated. He appeared where enemies least expected, struck with precision that left attackers alive but unable to fight, and vanished back into the shadows. But there were too many attackers. Even Grimjaw couldn't be everywhere at once. That's when the miners surprised everyone. These tough frontier people had grown fond of their gentle giant. When they saw him fighting to protect them, they grabbed whatever weapons they could find and joined the battle. Nobody threatens our Grimjaw! Maria shouted as she fired a mining laser at Syndicate troops. The battle raged through the asteroid's tunnels for hours. Grimjaw coordinated the defense with tactical brilliance that amazed everyone. He positioned miners where they could be most effective, predicted enemy movements, and protected the weak while striking at enemy strengths. Captain Vextar found himself fighting alongside the creature he had come to arrest. When Syndicate troops cornered his security team, Grimjaw appeared like an avenging angel to save them. Why? The captain gasped as Grimjaw gently helped him to his feet. I came here to take you away. Grimjaw's red eyes met the captain's blue ones. Because that is what Guardians do, he replied in his grinding voice. We protect those who need protection. The Syndicate forces finally retreated when their losses became too heavy. They had expected to fight one creature and a handful of humans. Instead, they faced an entire community united in defense of their friend. As medical teams treated the wounded, Captain Vextar tore up his official orders. I'm going to tell the council they made a mistake, he told Jin. What I saw here today wasn't a monster, it was a hero. Jin scratched Grimjaw behind the ears as the Warhound gently helped injured miners to safety. He always was a hero, Captain. Some people just couldn't see it past his scary looks. But Jin knew their troubles weren't over. The Syndicate had resources and patience. They would be back with even more force. If he wanted to keep Grimjaw safe, he needed to change how the galaxy saw Warhounds forever. The final battle was coming, and this time it would be fought not with claws and weapons, but with words and truth. The Galactic Council chambers had never seen anything like it. Representatives from hundreds of worlds filled the massive hall, all gathered to decide the fate of one ancient Warhound and the human who defended him. Jin stood at the center of it all, feeling very small. Beside him, Grimjaw lay peacefully, despite the hundreds of eyes watching his every move. The Warhound had insisted on coming to defend himself, even though many council members were terrified to be in the same room with him. Dr. Yenna presented her research first. Her holographic displays showed the true history of the Catherian Empire. Images of Warhounds serving as peacekeepers, teachers, and guardians filled the chamber. Data proved that violent crime dropped to almost nothing in cities where Warhounds lived. Honored delegates, she said, We have been wrong about these creatures for centuries. They were never weapons of destruction. They were weapons against destruction. The Altarian representative stood to speak. Dr. Yenna, your research is impressive. But how can we ignore the military capabilities we witnessed? This creature single-handedly defeated an entire syndicate assault force. Because he was protecting innocent people, Jin replied. Grimjaw only fights when others are threatened. That's exactly why he's dangerous, argued the Zalari delegate. What happens when he decides we are the threat? Jin felt anger rising in his chest, but Grimjaw's massive paw gently touched his hand. The Warhound's calm presence reminded Jin to stay peaceful. With respect, delegate, Jin said carefully, Grimjaw has had many chances to hurt innocent people. He could have killed the syndicate attackers, but he chose not to. He could have escaped from any prison you built, but he stays with me by choice. He judges people by their actions, not their species. The Terran Council member, an elderly woman named Ambassador Chen, spoke next. Mr. Park, while your companion's restraint is admirable, many worlds are demanding his destruction. They fear what might happen if other ancient war beasts are found. Then they should fear the wrong things, a new voice said from the chamber entrance. Everyone turned to see Captain Vexitar walking in with a group of asteroid miners. Maria Santos led the group, her weathered face determined. Permission to speak? Honored Council? Maria asked. The council speaker, confused by this interruption, nodded slowly. I've lived on the frontier for 30 years, Maria said. I've seen real monsters, pirates who murder families for fun, slavers who steal children, corporations that poison entire worlds for profit. But this creature, this Grimjaw, he's not a monster. He's family. She activated a portable projector that showed recordings from the asteroid battle. The images were clear and shocking. They showed Grimjaw protecting civilians, carrying wounded miners to safety, and showing mercy to defeated enemies. Look at this, Maria pointed to one image. My granddaughter Sarah was trapped under fallen rocks. Grimjaw could have left her to chase attackers, but he stayed to dig her out. Used those big, scary claws, gentle as a surgeon's tools. More miners stepped forward to testify. They told stories of Grimjaw helping with dangerous work, comforting children during storms, and even learning to play simple games with the colony kids. He's not a weapon, said old Tom Martinez. He's a guardian angel who just happens to look like a nightmare. The council members looked uncertain. The evidence was overwhelming, but fear ran deep. That's when the syndicate made their final mistake. Armed figures burst into the council chambers, weapons drawn. Their leader, a heavily scarred Vorthan, pointed his gun directly at Jin. This ends now, the Vorthan snarled. You will surrender the Warhound, or we will take him from your dead bodies. Security guards moved to stop them, but the syndicate had brought military-grade equipment. Energy barriers blocked the exits while armed troops took positions throughout the chamber. You cannot threaten the Galactic Council, Ambassador Chen said angrily. We can, and we do, the Vorthan replied. Too many credits are at stake to let sentiment interfere. That's when Grimjaw rose to his feet. The transformation was magnificent and terrible. His cybernetic implants flared to brilliant life as ancient battle systems activated. His red eyes blazed like stars. Every movement spoke of barely contained power, but instead of attacking, he did something no one expected. Grimjaw walked slowly to the center of the chamber and sat down. Then he began to speak, his grinding voice carrying clearly through the silent hall. I am the last keeper of my people's memories, he said. For 200 years I guarded their secrets alone. I remembered their songs, their stories, their dreams of peace among the stars. He turned to look at each section of delegates in turn. My people died because they forgot the most important truth. Strength without wisdom leads to destruction. Power without compassion leads to corruption. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species destroy themselves through fear and hatred. The syndicate troops shifted nervously, but their leader kept his weapon trained on Jin. This human found me dying and alone, Grimjaw continued. He could have left me to die. He could have sold my secrets for profit. Instead, he showed me kindness when I expected none. He proved that sometimes the smallest gesture can change everything. Grimjaw's eyes focused on the syndicate leader. You speak of taking me by force. You threaten innocent delegates. You bring weapons into a hall of peace. This is why my people died. This is why empires fall, not because they lacked strength, but because they forgot mercy. The warhound took one step toward the armed intruders. Leave now, and I will forget your threats. Stay, and learn why my kind were called guardians. The syndicate leader's weapon shook in his hands. You're just one creature against all of us. No, said Captain Vextar, drawing his sidearm. He's not alone. Security guards aimed their weapons at the intruders. Council delegates activated personal shields. Even the miners pulled out tools that could serve as weapons. But it was Ambassador Chen who ended the standoff with 6 simple words. I stand with the warhound. One by one, every delegate in the chamber rose to their feet. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species, all united in defense of one ancient guardian and his human friend. The syndicate troops looked around the chamber in growing fear. They were outnumbered by thousands. Even if they started shooting, they could never escape. Their leader slowly lowered his weapon. This isn't over. Yes, it is, Grimjaw said gently. Your way of thinking is ending. A new age begins today. As security escorted the defeated syndicate members away, the council voted unanimously. Grimjaw was granted full sentient rights and citizenship. Warhounds were officially recognized as guardians rather than weapons. Most importantly, they established the Guardian Accords, protecting any remaining ancient beings and acknowledging their rights to choose their own destinies. Jin found himself crying as delegates lined up to meet Grimjaw personally. The creature who had been feared and hunted was now respected and honored. How does it feel? Dr. Yenna asked as they watched council members taking pictures with Grimjaw like he was a celebrity. Scary, Jin admitted. Everyone wants to study him now. I just wanted him to be safe and happy. Grimjaw nuzzled Jin's shoulder affectionately. I am safe, my friend, and I am happy, but our work is just beginning. Work? The warhound's red eyes sparkled with ancient wisdom. There are other forgotten beings in the galaxy, other creatures abandoned and afraid. With your permission, I would like to help them as you helped me. Jin scratched behind Grimjaw's ears and smiled. I wouldn't have it any other way, boy. As they left the council chambers together, Jin realized something wonderful. He had saved one lost creature from a derelict ship, but somehow that one act of kindness had changed the entire galaxy. Sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't strength or weapons or technology. Sometimes it's simply the courage to care about someone else.